That means we did our we release our services, we did the Postman test. Now we have a real part. That's the intention today. My 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 screencast is the different clients and the different, how can you do the client different programmatically test the microservices in the REST size with Java world, and after that, how can you communicate the services, how can you integrate the services into the your front-end technology depending on the front-end technology. Let's have a look. We have different project exactly the same way. We handle it like this way. We just build it in the Spring initializer and project it the Spring Boot applications, just in Java Maven application. So you can also even use the Spring Boot application. Doesn't matter what type of application you are using. It's very simple, very straightforward. Just it's very simple. The Maven applications, it has the main class methods and then so on and so forth. So we define our models. That's define we just what we need. Just like very simple XML annotations. What we in the exactly one-to-one models that's into our implementation has. And because we need the JSON parsing issues in here, we define the models and objects. And here the simple, very simple, exactly the same one-to-one, just one-to-one model transformation. That means into the server-side implementation, the exactly what you have it here, the exactly same models need to the front-end technology, front-end side, like in the Angular or Android or in the Java side. That means it's a command object. You need to be parses. You can serialize, deserialize your JSON object. That's what we define like this way. This is the standard way that I said. Just you need to be defined. You need to be talk to the your API developer or some microservice developer, and they will give it to you their domain models. You just need to be use these domain models, and that's make your life easier. Otherwise you need to be remapped it and marshalling, unmarshalling these things together, and then you need to more things to do. But if you get the real model that's the API developer had, then you can just simply integrate this model into the your web services, web applications. Then you simply use it this way, and very straightforward. These things just like communicating the the APIs to the your front-end layers, and you have extra models or extra command models or entity models to communicating the bypassing the or serialize, deserialize, or passing or marshalling or unmarshalling things together. You can do is this in same way. So you see the same models. You can see here the same definitions. So let's have a start the one of the clients that we are looking for. We are talking about these ones. So this is the clients we have. That's I already explained you. They have a REST clients, RestEasy clients. That's in my presentation. I already explain you these things. That is, we have a REST clients presentation. Where is my presentation? Here is the presentation. You see the REST clients. Apache REST client, RestEasy, JAX-RS template, RestTemplate. This is the basically for the Spring Boot based applications, and then this one for the standard Java based application. So let's have a start the REST client implementation for line implementation for the REST service consuming. So if you see the REST client implementations, which is just very simple. The RestEasy client implementations. This is a very simple REST clients, and we implement the class. We define just very REST client easy interface, the class, and then we define the clients, and the very simple. We defined our base URL. That's I said this is really configurable standard way to do. So you see there is a you have a base URL, and we define the base URL in this class. We define the static methods, one public static methods. We define the base URL here. That means you don't need to be program it in different how can say different every pages to need to write down the URL. That's why I say this is really standard way. Just when you try to deploy the application somewhere, somewhere, they simply change the URL from the application properties is automatically read from here and build their basic URL. That means this part will be the fix every time, every part of your application, and this part will be the dynamically change where you try to install the applications. It doesn't matter in USA, Canada, Australia, doesn't matter which platform. You just simply change the IP address of your where you try to install or where you try to run your services was running, and then you need to report which portal in the service is running, the application is running. That's simply changed, but this part is really static. really part of this thing. But I put it like here, one static class, and then use this static class to put it every time. Don't type it here as a bad way, bad development. So this is the that's I say this is really standard development for the applications. How is you need to be as a professional. That's I said. I worked for 10 years for the implementation for the microservices wall at the front end, back end, and API development. That's why I said this is the standard way. Just please follow the standard structure in your daily works and in your professional works. So we use the REST line APIs, and just very simple, we set the URL, and then we get target URL, and then very simple call target the request.get and the string, and we bypass we use the Google JSON file. That's I already explained it here. Here, this one just simply transform the any object into GeoJSON object. This is the one of the transformer to get GeoJSON from the Google JSON object library using. So we transform this one and we return the list of the U records from the user roles. And here is the very simple case. We pass the URL, we pass the parameters, the URL, the base URL. That's exactly what we have it in here. You see the exactly what we have it here. So we have is a base URL already defined in this part in our static methods. We define this URL, this part in here, and then this part, the static part is defined here, and also here also the method name and the function names. So exactly we define here. You see our REST clients, the base URL is defined here. This is our base URL, and then we have the function name that we define our controller part, the resource part definition. We pass the backslash base URL plus backslash plus ID of we need, and then it's a response. We pass the response object here. Yeah, there's a lot of possibility how can you handle it depending on your idea or your use cases. I just put it like different possibilities here. So read the entity as entity class, that's we define it in our local model, our command models here. You see the command models, and then you can use it. Even though you can put this object as all the domain model as a library, you can publish it as a library and use it the library both side. It just doesn't matter how we use it. And we use the function that we already loaded here, very simple functions. We get the object and type it JSON and pass it the object as a JSON and return the very simple objects. So get the JSON and build the object out of this JSON and return the object itself. And here's a save function. We put it like very simple base URL. We get the putting methods, the media type JSON, post functions. We use the post and get the response and transform get the status and then get the status response of 200 or 201 or depending what type of. If it's not saved, and then it's returning the HTTP error code. So it's a save function is the base, and then we pass the object. You see the object is defined here, and the entity object is defined here, and save. An update, we pass the ID, and we load for the specific ID. We pass it here. We pass the entity. We get the target the RestEasy target web target. And then we have the object that you try to update it, and then it's just JSON format, media type, and just simply do something, and then read the object what you updated it and get the results, and that's all. Finish. And delete. That's I said. It's depend how we handle it. You JSON request, you get the JSON, you can bypass it, parse it or not parsing, depending how your front-end technology are looking for reading for these ones. So you can delete user registrations, which is simply very simple cases, and here, and then here, and then here. So very, very straightforward cases. So let's we implement, we consume the services in the window class. Now we need to test these services. That's one of the intent. That's why I said now I try to give it to you idea how can you do the JUnit testing, programmatically to service testing in the JUnit, Java JUnit. So we had the standard Java Maven projects. You see the test packet, and then you can go not this one. So test package, you can go this one. So we have a test package. The standard test is automatically done. We have here different test package. RestEasy test client. We are client testing this. We are here. So utility, we can delete this one, maybe this one, this one, this one, and this is our we are trying to our implementation, what we did, the RESTeasy implementations, and so on, so forth, these things.